Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly Live for February 11th, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are updates for YouTubers, for Google's AI, Gemini, for web creators, and for people who are on social media. But first, I want to say happy Super Bowl Sunday. Go Niners! And if you actually want to watch the football game for the football, you may want to bookmark the options for seeing the other creative work for the Super Bowl. The first is the YouTube Ad Blitz, and that is, of course, a collection of all the various ads that will be shown during the game this afternoon. Historically, advertisers went all out during the Super Bowl. I think that's a little bit different now because you see these commercials elsewhere on the web, on TV, and so forth, both before and after the Super Bowl, but it's not as exciting as it used to be. But still, if you want to check out this year's advertisements, go to the YouTube Ad Blitz channel. The other thing that you can check out if you are into music is on TikTok. There is a Super Bowl TikTok tailgate party with Gwen Stefani, so that can be fun. And this year's halftime performer is going to be Usher. And you can go into Apple Music. They have a whole page of information and music that you can listen to from Usher, his new album and playlists and so forth. So those are all of the options for the Super Bowl afternoon. Otherwise, have a good time. Welcome to you in the live chat today. I see Diego and Craig. Thank you for joining me live. I hope you're having a nice Sunday. And let's get started with this week's updates. The first thing I wanted to share is a really neat update from YouTube if you are a live streamer. So, as you probably know, the YouTube Shorts feed is all vertical videos less than a minute. One of the changes that YouTube has made is to add vertical live streams to the Shorts feed, previews of those live streams. So the idea is people will be scrolling through their shorts and then they'll see something, oh, this is live, and they can click that or tap that on their mobile device and go to the live stream. This has been testing since last year. They just rolled this out to everyone. So the idea is that if you do a vertical live stream, it's going to be discoverable by people who are in the Shorts feed, which is very popular. I think it's also worth noting that this is available to any videos that are live stream videos that are taller than they are wide. So it doesn't have to be perfectly, 16 by 9. And you don't necessarily have to live stream from your mobile device. Of course, if you're streaming from your phone, it will be in the right dimensions, but most live streaming platforms now let you actually choose to live stream vertically. Today, I'm live streaming from Streamlabs Talk Studio, and before the stream went live, I could have chosen to make this a vertical live stream for viewing in the Shorts feed. Maybe I should have tried that. I don't know. The only problem, of course, is if you're doing vertical, where do I show the screen share? I'm not sure how that works. So something to play with. The other thing that came from YouTube this week is a letter from the YouTube CEO, Neal Mohan, with their 2024 priorities. And this is kind of a neat article if you're interested in the numbers. And I just wanted to highlight that there are a number of really big statistics that they shared in this. So just to switch over to the numbers, more than 3 million channels in the YouTube are in the YouTube Partner Program. YouTube has paid out more than $70 billion to creators, artists, and media companies over the last 3 years. Viewers watch more than 2 billion hours. Viewers watch more than 1 billion hours of content every day on their TVs. So one of the big bets is actually really focusing more on people viewing on TV. And the article went on to say it's actually even popular for people to watch shorts on their TVs. So shorts, which are designed for phones, people are watching on their big TVs, which is kind of surprising to me, but that's why you actually look at the numbers. And it says Shorts is averaging over 70 billion daily views, and the number of channels uploading Shorts has grown 50% year over year. Not hugely surprising since there's obviously a focus on Shorts at YouTube. And finally, they've hit the 100 million subscriber mark for YouTube Music and Premium. Those are all big numbers. But what does this actually mean for YouTube creators? And it went on to talk about several different things. The first is AI tools. No big surprise there. But the idea is that the AI tools are for everyone. And I really like this quote from the article that says, AI should empower human creativity, not replace it. And everyone should have access to AI tools that will push the boundaries of creative expression. So this is, I like the sentiment. I don't know if they can really pull this off necessarily. But the idea is that YouTube is going to be putting out AI-powered tools for everybody. It's not necessarily going to just be a premium feature or just for monetizing creators. The other things that they talked about for 2024 had to do with getting creators more recognition. It's mentioned that, for example, government labor statistics, they don't actually list creators. It's hard to actually know how many people are working creatively on platforms like YouTube. These aren't called out in government statistics. And so part of what YouTube does is lobby governments to help get recognition. And they're also talking to the entertainment industry to get recognition because creators are really like mini video studios now, at least the bigger time creators, where they aren't just people like me who are shooting video in their home. Instead, they have a whole team. They're helping, they're managing a team. They make things really professionally. They should get recognition for that. So that's something YouTube is working towards. They're also working on new methods of monetization and focusing on also making sure people can find good information when they come to YouTube that's partially driven by their policies about harassment and hate speech. It's partially surfacing higher quality information, making content that is okay for teens and so forth. So those are all sort of big goals for the coming year. I think that YouTube has a big job ahead of it trying to meet a lot of these goals. And will they be successful? I think they'll definitely be judged about that. So we'll look again in the coming year and see how they do. Now, I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about Google's big announcement this week. Bard becomes Gemini. I'm not really keen on the name, but it is what it is. Craig says, an AI-powered Peggy K. Yeah, that would actually save me a lot of effort. I could sleep in longer. I don't think AI is quite there yet. So the big news is that Gemini is now Google's AI, and they're putting it everywhere. First, Google Bard is now Google Gemini. It has the same features as previously. This just emphasizes that it's using the Gemini AI model. The other thing is that Duet, which is the Google Workspace AI, so enterprise customers can have a subscription to Duet AI, and that subscription gives them access to AI features in Docs and Slides and Gmail and so forth. That will also be renamed to Bard for Workspace. Now, what does this mean for Workspace Labs? Workspace Labs is something you can sign up for to test these AI features in Workspace apps, again, like Docs and Gmail, excuse me, Docs and Gmail and Slides. This is free if you have a personal account, but Bard Ultra is going to a payment model. And, oh, I said Bard Ultra, and obviously that's what that's the name I like. Gemini Advanced is the paid model. You can pay for this with your personal account if you have Google One with 2 terabytes of data or more. This is an add-on to that, basically. So you have this subscription. It includes all of the Google One features, including 2 terabytes of storage and some other features. It is $20 a month, which seems kind of spendy because just the Google One subscription is only like $10 a month. So if you want to try it, you can actually get a trial for 2 months, I believe it is, for free. So you may want to do that if you are interested in seeing how it works. And Google has said that this will eventually include the Google Workspace features. So everything goes paid, nothing is free. You can also, if you have an Android device, install the Gemini app on your phone or tablet. And you can choose to make Gemini your assistant. So this would basically replace Google Assistant. Now, the downside of doing that is that Gemini doesn't actually have all the features of Google Assistant. So if you're using Google Assistant to do things like manage your tasks or play music from third-party sites, it won't do any of that. So keep that in mind if you want to try this on your phone. You can always switch back to having Google Assistant be your assistant. And hopefully in the future, Gemini will get all the assistant features. But right now, you may not want to do that if you use Assistant a lot, like I do. And If you have an iPhone, there's not a standalone Gemini app. It's going to be built in to the Google app. And of course, at first, available in English in the US, it will be expanding to more countries and more languages soon. So that was the big news from Google this week. Let me just look at my list of things I wanted to talk about. Yes, so that covers the YouTube updates and Gemini. I'm going to switch a little bit now for people who create things for the web. And you may remember, if you've been watching Google's recommendations for a long time, web stories. Now, web stories are basically AMP-based stories optimized for mobile devices, and you make them specifically to show in the search results, in the Google search results, in Discover, and so forth. So these are vertical, image heavy, and they tend to be lists and things like that, at least the way most people create them. But of course, one of the things that's true is that this special format has mostly been adopted by generators of low quality content. So if you go into Discover, there's usually a carousel of these stories. A lot of them are really kind of spammy or just junky, listicle kinds of things. And so it's not too surprising that Google has kind of quietly dropped web stories from the image search and from the carousel view in Discover. This is not something they announced, but it's in the documents. It's being discussed over on Twitter and Threads. Let me just get to information. This was first noticed publicly by Glenn Gabe, who notes that, this is sort of the demise of web stories, and he says it makes complete sense. The latest update from Google is that web stories do not show in Discover in a stories carousel anymore. And Google says in the Discover feed, web stories can appear as a single card where you can tap through to the story. And while this appearance is available in all regions and languages where Google Discover is available, it's most likely to appear in the US, India, and Brazil. So that's a lot more limited, and a bunch of people have noticed that their Discover feed from Google is looking a lot cleaner now without all these kind of low quality stories dominating the top. All right, so I should say quickly, this is something that you really want to keep in mind, that Google changes these things all the time. But if you're creating content specifically for a particular format that only Google supports, it's not hugely surprising that these formats go away eventually. So I think personally, it's probably a lot better to put your time and effort into creating content on your own regular website. You control that. It's not going to go away if Google decides they like a different format. That's just my opinion. All right, so I'm going to now switch to talking a bit about updates on Meta. The first is that they're going to start labeling AI-generated images on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And they are going to require people to label things themselves. but they will also label things automatically, and they are working on systems with industry partners, that means Adobe and Google and so forth, to make these artificially generated images detectable. So it's all going to be incorporated, not just in the metadata. This is something that's they can put in the whole fabric of the image, so it's not easily stripped away. If people create something photorealistic, then it will be labeled as artificial. So interestingly, there are different ways different platforms are approaching this. The first is that YouTube specifically, they are talking about labeling synthetic images. And I think the wording is important, because when you talk about a synthetic image, to me at least, that's not just necessarily AI generated. Instead, it could include something that you tweaked in Photoshop and so forth. So if you just focus so heavily on AI generated images, there's a lot of fake things you can do without AI. And it seems like maybe Meta misses the point on that a little bit. Again, this is early days. We're going to see more and more artificially generated content. Everyone's struggling to keep up. Craig says, I don't know what to do with AI yet. If it keeps my computer running efficiently, then I will use it. Yeah, I don't think any of the AI currently that's being touted makes anything run more efficiently. It's mostly for fun and to assist you. So the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is an announcement from Meta about political content on Instagram and Threads. And I hadn't really realized this, but on Instagram, Meta is already approaching political content as something that is not something they will proactively recommend. And this is extending to Threads. So what they say is that, political content makes people upset and so forth. They want good conversations on Threads, so they will not be actively promoting that content. But if you follow someone who posts political content, you'll still see that. So it's not going to affect your following feed, but you won't see recommendations of this content. The big concern, though, is that they have not explained what they consider to be political. And as everyone knows, almost anything can be political. And so if you look at the actual definition they give in their announcement, they say it's potentially related to things like laws, elections, or social topics. So what does that mean exactly? It's not clear. Social topics covers almost everything. And so some people have noted that on Facebook, for example, where they have a similar policy, if they talk about science related to the climate, that seems to not be recommended. So this is a very broad definition, and it seems like it could be really bad if it's not just not recommending things about elections, but anything that even tangentially might be politicized. There's a lot of science and health and so forth that this might cover. Is this good or bad? It probably makes people less angry to see these kinds of things. There's always someone who's going to be angry, but I think it does potentially stifle some discussion and prevents things like health information from being shared. So Is it good or is it bad? I don't know. Of course, the alternative is to be like on X, where political stuff is being promoted by the site's owner, a lot of really nasty things, and that isn't good either. Is there a perfect solution? There is not. But the other update I wanted to mention today is BlueSky is now available to everyone. So BlueSky, it started out as a platform kind of Twitter adjacent. Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, was originally interested in this. I think he's still on the board of directors, but he does not actually have any involvement with BlueSky today. It's been on invite for a year. So they only have like 3 million users on the platform. But I think it's really interesting because one of the things they let you do is create your own feeds, public feeds and lists. And so you can really shape your own experience on the platform. It allows you to decide what you want to see in your social media. I like it. I've been really enjoying it. It's interesting. The people I follow on BlueSky are totally different than the people I follow on Threads and on Twitter. So there's different discussions happening in different places. But for example, I follow a curated science feed, which just has science news, updates about animals and so forth. I also follow a science art feed, and the science art feed has great drawings and diagrams and things like that. There's all kinds of feeds people have made. These are curated, so they're very topic specific. And you can really create it so that what you're seeing is what you're interested in. I like it. And since it's open, you might want to give BlueSky a try. All right, so those are my big updates for this week. I wanted to give you something to try. If you have been making shorts, you might be familiar with OpusClip. So OpusClip lets you take your video and it uses an AI tool to cut it into a short. They just launched a new tool that lets you caption your videos for free. This means you don't need an OpusClip account. You don't need to sign in. There's no limit. You basically just upload your short video. I think it's up to 2 minutes, and it will create on-screen captions. You can kind of see what they mean by that in the scroll along the bottom, where if you're watching shorts, you often see the captions appear burned in on the video. A lot of people watch shorts with the audio off. So the other weird thing I noticed, though, is that all of their examples are like these dudes. Where are the women who caption their videos? Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to give it a try, make some shorts. And it's free. You don't need an account. Check out OpusClip captions. I'll just take this opportunity to note, if you want links and more information, you can sign up for my newsletter that comes out every Saturday. There's a link in the description of the video. And there's also a post on my blog if you don't like emails. So check it out, give it a try, and see how well it works. And in the last minute, I'll just say my deep thought of the week that's interesting is Anil Dash says, wherever you get your podcasts is a radical statement. And this is kind of blew my mind a little bit. The idea is that podcasts are an open platform, basically. People create their podcast, but they can upload the feed of their podcast to YouTube Music, to Apple Podcasts, to Spotify. So the creator is in control where people access it, and that means they're not dependent on any one platform to distribute their content. So it is a radical idea. And I think it'd be great if people who write on the web also thought about that more. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me live. I hope the 49ers win the Super Bowl. That's what I'll be doing this afternoon. But have the great rest of your Sunday and a great week. And I will see you again next week.